What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. DMZ missions are where it's at, and more specifically today we are looking at a mission called Pathfinder for the White Lotus faction in DMZ. Now this mission tasks you with finding a GPS device, a GPS locator, in a dead drop on the map, and then taking this GPS device on a round trip all across the map, visiting all 17 of the named locations on the map, and then finally taking this GPS locator and successfully exfiltrating the DMZ. I will share some general tips as to how I accomplished this, what you should look out for, and ways in which you can get this done easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But first things first, we have to talk about the mode of transportation. Now, while it is not impossible to do this with a ground-based vehicle with one of the many cars and vans and trucks that are available on the map, by far the easiest way for you to do this is through the use of a chopper. Now, in earlier versions of the DMZ, there were a whole bunch more choppers being spawned in, but since recent patches, it seems like the amount of overall choppers being spawned onto one session, one map at a time, has been severely reduced. These days, I think it's common to see one, possibly two max in one game. So the first thing that you should do is you should locate where the nearest chopper is. Now, the good news is these don't often get picked up by other players due to the fact that they're so easily shot out of the sky, especially if there are active SAM sites in the area. So this is of course something that you also need to be watching out for. But nonetheless, once you locate your chopper, you are good to go and we can get started. Now, your GPS tracker is going to be located at the Said Mall dead drop. So that's going to be your first stop. Perhaps you might want to pick up the GPS tracker first before you go to the chopper, or vice versa. It's really dealer's choice here, but you have to stop by this dumpster and then fetch the GPS tracker from there. Now, once you have this GPS tracker in your inventory, in your backpack, you can start traversing the map, essentially covering all of the 17 locations. The way that I did it, depending on, and I've done this about 3 times now, depending on where you actually find the chopper, the simplest in terms of keeping track of which locations that you have visited already versus which ones you haven't, you can simply just fly the map in a clockwise or counterclockwise motion, essentially knocking each one of them out. Now, 2 things I want to mention here. One, these locations are not individually tracked, so you kind of mentally have to keep track of which ones you have visited versus which ones you haven't. The counter tracks up from 0 to 17 but does not specify which ones you've covered and which ones you haven't, so this is something that you have to keep track of yourself. The second thing I want to mention is that in some cases I've noticed that if you are too high off the ground, then it doesn't actually register the location when you fly over it. So unfortunately, you will have to go a little bit lower. As you can see in the footage in the background here, it's not as if I'm flying right, on the deck, but you kind of like have to be a little bit closer and not too high up. Otherwise, in some cases, it will skip over an area or not actually register it. Quick side note here, it's possible that in your travels around the map, you're going to either sustain damage to your chopper that you'd like to repair, or you're going to need some extra juice, some fuel, because you might be running low. In both of those cases, just like you repair ground vehicles by going to service stations and essentially parking next to the pumps, letting them refill your petrol, your juice, as well as repair the damage, you can do the same thing with the chopper, and you don't even have to land it. You can simply hover close to these pump areas and it will repair your chopper as well as refill it with some fuel. Now, unfortunately, as mentioned by the mission text, you have to visit all 17 of these locations in one deployment. This is something that is often missed by players that I've seen in the comments. So even though it seems as if the tracker keeps track of, let's say you hit 14 out of 17 and then get eliminated, when you exit, you'll see, oh, okay, cool, I have 14 out of 17, which I guess means I only need to do 3 next time when I deploy. However, as soon as you deploy into a fresh DMZ, you're going to see your counter reset all the way down to 0 or 1 out of 17 and essentially having to start over. So you have to do all of these in one go, and it's as simple as that. As you are nearing the end of your 17 locations visited, try to watch the map and keep in track of where the nearest exfiltration site is, so that you could potentially time it in such a way, or rather guide it in such a way, that you can land close by that area, or possibly even jump out of the helicopter and skydive onto that location and thereby get your exfiltration started as soon as possible. you will not be able to finish this mission unless you leave with that GPS tracker in your inventory successfully out of the DMZ. So this is a little bit of the nail-biting part, I suppose, because of course if somebody kills you or something bad happens to you before you get this tracker out, it's going to be all that hard work for nothing. But I hope you're successful, I hope you get all 17 done, and I hope this mission is over. And that's going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments down below if you've completed your tour de force of the map, if you've visited all 17 of these locations in the Pathfinder mission, and if you've been successful in extracting with that GPS locator. But other than that, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And until next video, fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me.